Woo, let's get it. What's going on, everybody? And welcome to the Deconstructed Topic Podcast. My name is David, and I'm your host of this legendary podcast that we got going on. Ooh, we making it happen. We got another good episode. We doing our thing. For those people out there on the YouTube, you're gonna be watching because I got a little presentation. For those who are listening, I got you. Don't worry about it. We got one of the more interesting topics that I want to talk about because it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. And yeah, it's the addiction to nostalgia. That's correct. Nostalgia is a thing. Maybe a disease. Some people say that hey, we need a cure for nostalgia, but you let it be the judge how you feel about nostalgia. And basically, got a little presentation going on there. And I want people to once again hit the like button, hit the comment, share all that good stuff, and let me know what is that one thing that you go back in time and you just addicted to, whether it's a toy, whether it's a TV show, whether whatever the case might be. And I'll give you a little background, right, on myself, without giving much of my age, but hey, that's all right. Um, so as a young kid, growing up, I'm mostly what they would call an '80s baby. And I was growing up to young adulthood, teenager, I'm a '90s. I gravitate. So I got best of both decades, and two are one of the better decades. And the good thing about those two decades, and anybody that could have enjoyed the '80s, '90s. I'm sorry for the millennials. I'm sorry. These last two decades, I don't know. I can't tell you sorry, but the '80s, '90s. Hey, listen, I'm a little bit biased. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. You know what I mean? And some people argue that the 2000s was probably like the best last decade, and somewhere after 2010, whatever, something happened. You know what I mean? So '80s, '90s, and there's a lot of things that I gravitate. When I say a lot of things, we're talking about toys, we're talking about TV shows, cartoons, obviously, or things of that nature. So let's get on with this show, shall we? And just to give you an idea of what is nostalgia, and then we'll take it from there. Woo, let's make it happen. And this is a little clip from TED Talk. Once in a while I do listen to TED Talk. It has some good stuff, some good people there. It's always something to learn there, but it's always something to learn here and for you to make it legendary status. That's right. Welcome once again to Deconstructing Topics. Let's get it.
17th century, a medical student named Johannes Hofer noticed a strange illness affecting Swiss mercenaries serving abroad. Its symptoms, including fatigue, insomnia, irregular heartbeat, indigestion, and fever, were so strong the soldiers often had to be discharged.
Okay.
As Hofer discovered, the cause was not some physical disturbance, but an intense yearning for their mountain homeland. He dubbed the
All right. So far so good. I like it. I'm intrigued and I'm just curious here. For those people who find themselves addicted to nostalgia, you know, there's certain, I'll be honest, there's certain things about nostalgia and certain things that does hit me. I wasn't born in this country, so I was born in the beautiful Puerto Rico. Woo! Is there things that I feel like those symptoms when it comes to Puerto Rico because I miss my homeland or my mainland? Yeah, there are certain symptoms where I could say, "Eesh." And maybe sometimes, you're for those people who were not born in this country, or not born in New York City, or not born here, who might say, my immune system, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's this. Just put yourself out there. Would you have gotten sick? And I know some people that get sick like 5 times a year. And then you ask them where you from. Oh yeah, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, etc., 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 Mexico, whatever. Would you have gotten sick that much if you was in your homeland? I would tend to think that the answer would be no. I think there is something kind of attached to where you're from, whether you are from another state, another city. Now, obviously, living in New York City is a whole different monster. There's a lot of tension, pressure, whatever. So I could get that could be and that extra little layer that we might be saying, okay, ignore, because at the end, living in New York City, it's a little different. It's a big city, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, perhaps there's something to that effect, you know. All right, let's get on with the show.
Condition, nostalgia, from the Greek nostos for homecoming and algos for pain or longing. At first, nostalgia was considered a particularly Swiss affliction. Some doctors proposed that the constant sound of cowbells in the Alps caused trauma to the eardrums and brain. Commanders even forbade their soldiers from singing traditional Swiss songs for fear that they'd lead to desertion or suicide. But as migration increased worldwide, nostalgia was observed in various groups. It turned out that anyone separated from their native place for a long time
so
was
basically that's one of the points that I made. I do come across a lot of people who are not from this country or not from this city who yearn for something. And sometimes, depending on the person, when they have that conversation like that, they tend that. So the conversation is not as one of the, yo, man, I miss my home. Oh, man. Oh, like, oh, it's not of that energy level. You know what I mean? It's more like, man, I miss, my home. And, when I used to wake up, so see, that's one of the points I was trying to make with this. In regards to, again, I've come across New York City is like a melting pot of a whatever pot. So that means it has a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different countries. And if there's one thing that I do notice is that people from different countries, different parts of this country, they do tend to feel a certain way. So that's interesting.
Vulnerable to nostalgia. And by the early 20th century, professionals no longer viewed it as a neurological disease, but as a mental condition similar to depression. Psychologists of the time speculated that it represented difficulties letting go of childhood, or even a longing to return to one's fetal state. But over the next few decades, the understanding of nostalgia changed in two important ways. Its meaning expanded from indicating homesickness to a general longing for the past. And rather than an awful disease, it began to be seen as a poignant and pleasant experience. Perhaps the most famous example of this was captured by French author Marcel Proust. He described how tasting a Madeleine cake he had not eaten since childhood triggered a cascade of warm and powerful sensory associations.
So yeah, those are the little cakes. There's something like in my experience, especially. So once again, I'm going to emphasize that I'm in New York City. Now, in New York City, we got a lot of Latinos, Mexican, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Ricans, obviously. Now, at one point, now this is interesting. Is there a certain nostalgia that is manufactured or came about because of something not naturally? And I say this because let's say when it comes to Puerto Rican and Dominican food, there are certain things that are similar. And if I go to a Dominican household, we have to party. You already know Dominicans, they got that merengue, all that good stuff. They got the rice, they got the pelil, the arroz con gandule, all that good stuff. And I've been there a lot of times. I take that little scoop of that little pernil, that little, arroz con gandule. Immediately, I'm going to be like, it just tastes like, back home. Now, understanding, historically, we have, let's say, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, certain countries, they've been under the rule of the Spanish, that Spanish Empire. So there are similar, how can I say, ingredients out there. So sometimes I start to think that there are certain nostalgia that could be manufactured or just came from chaos. So just, thinking about it here,
So what caused such a major reversal in our view of nostalgia? Part of it has to do with science. Psychology shifted away from pure theory and towards more careful and systematic empirical observation.
Okay.
So professionals realized that many of the negative symptoms may have been simply correlated with nostalgia rather than caused by it. And in fact, despite being a complex emotional state that can include feelings of loss and sadness, nostalgia doesn't generally put people in a negative mood.
Okay, that's
Instead,
interesting.
by allowing individuals to remember personally.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I did mention the negative part aspect, but I think that part does play to whatever it is that you're kind of missing because sometimes I guess I'm not gonna say I guess, but missing. Sometimes I have like a negative thing because I'm missing something. I'm missing this. I'm missing that. Oh, I'm missing this. You know what I mean? Or I miss, let's say my parents who passed away. Just use an example. I'm missing this. I'm missing $200 that I lost somewhere. I don't know what happened. There's always that thing. So I kind of understand that. Yes, it is true. Not necessarily nostalgia is something that's attached to a negative feeling. So okay, at least we're in the same page here.
Meaningful and rewarding experiences they shared with others, nostalgia can boost psychological well-being. Studies have shown that inducing nostalgia in people can help increase their feelings of self-esteem and social belonging,
Okay.
encourage psychological growth, and even make them act more charitably. So rather than being a cause of mental distress, nostalgia can be a restorative way of coping with it. For instance, when people experience negative emotional states, they tend to naturally use nostalgia to reduce distress
Right.
and restore
Oh, there
well-being.
goes the toys.
Today, it seems that nostalgia is everywhere, partially because advertisers have discovered how powerful it is as a
Yeah,
marketing
it gets
technique.
co-opted. I mean,
It's tempting to think of this as a sign of
it gets co-opted. So everything out there in this world, and let's say in this beautiful country, it gets co-opted by these corporations, sadly, and there's monies to be had. And I think that we can make, maybe, I don't know if there's a show out there. I know that there's been shows of like it's called American Restoration. So there's shows there that these people go out there and they buy these vintage stuff, things of that nature. But I wonder if there's been shows where there's people, and I'm pretty sure there have been. I'm just trying to think of where I've seen it, where people are addicted to nostalgia so much um, that they just like spend all their money, on just the fact that they want that feeling of feeling like, oh, nostalgia, whatever. So that's interesting. Because imagine just one show, and when just to give people an idea of people who have been addicted to nostalgia and they spend all their life savings. And again, hey, listen, at the end, um, it's what you do with your money. But what you do with your money, if it's affecting you, let's say if you got a family and now your family can't eat because you're buying all these Care Bear because you grew up, with Care Bear house. I don't know. But it's just interesting. I definitely would be curious to see if that was the case. If there's some show where people's just losing it. You know what I mean?
us being stuck in the past. But that's not really how nostalgia works. Instead, nostalgia helps us remember that our lives can have meaning and value,
Right.
helping us find the confidence and motivation to face the challenges of the future.
Okay, so that was interesting. Now, one of my things that I've said in regards to nostalgia, and that was definitely a cool a little thing going on there. The other day when I was doing my research, I came across a couple of things, and one of my favorite show, and I just by the way, one of the reasons why I'm doing this episode of nostalgia is because I would like to kind of spawn this into other episodes, specifically tied to, let's say, toys, specifically tied to movies, TV shows, things of that nature. And one of the things and I came across was Saved by the Bell. For those people, we all remember Saved by the Bell. Saved, but it's all right because you've been Saved by the Bell. So Saved by the Bell was a show I believe came on in late 80s, but it kind of progressively changed a little bit. There was Paul Mark Gosling is one of the main actors. The person that plays Screech, I think also. So Saved by the Bell was this TV show about these teenager in this high school. I forgot what's the name of the high school. If people could remember the name of that high school. Was it Bayshore or Bayside High? I think it was Bayside High. So basically, you have AC Slater. You have these different characters going through high school, and I used to, and they used to give it on Saturday. I believe it was on NBC, and I believe it was at 11 o'clock in the morning. So as a young kid, I'm like 9, 10, 11, 12, 8. I'm not giving up my age. I'm just saying, but it don't matter. I would grow up, because back then, for those young listeners out there, Saturdays, cartoons, and a couple of networks like Fox, I believe the CW at that time was WPIX, Channel 11 in New York City. I believe CBS there were cartoons that would start at 7 o'clock in the morning, ABC. So from 7 to basically 11, you had cartoons. Fox did the weird thing to do the 11 cartoons, X-Men, more grown cartoons, because the earlier the cartoon is, the more childish it became. The later the cartoon in the terms of time slot became more adult themed. That's why they had like the X-Men at 11 o'clock. So Saved by the Bell came at 11 o'clock. Now, Saved by the Bell was more of an adult theme or young adult, teenager. So basically, just me watching like 3 hours of cartoon, then watching this show, which was, live action, regular TV show, real characters, humans, you gravitated because you kind of, as a young kid, wonder how your life would be, let's say, once you're in high school. Oh, yeah, is it going to be that cool? Apparently, for me, what's cool? Hey, this in my high school was cool. But I'm just saying, the other thing, too, is this. Boom. So, let me just put this up here. For those people who remember, we grew up in Blockbuster. Now, Blockbuster Video means a lot to many, many, many people, and many, many, many families, because Blockbuster Video was that place where back then, before there was the Netflix, the Amazon Prime, the Hulus, the Disney Plus, if you wanted to watch, let's say, a movie that went on video, then you would watch it. I want to do what is a video? What is a video? Whatever the case might be. Some of the young people, I'm pretty sure people know what it is, VHS. But Blockbuster Video is one of those places. So I think there was one store left, I believe somewhere in Alaska. But Blockbuster is where many Saturdays, you would go with your family, you would drive up, for those who had a car, or sometimes you would just take the train, take the bus, rent a couple of movies. For those who have video games, you rent a video game and all that good stuff. And basically, you made it a family night on Saturday night. If you had that money, you would rent like 3 movies on whether it's DVD, VHS. So maybe you'll do a two Saturday movie and then one little Sunday thing going on there. This is why back then the networks like the CBS, the NBCs, the ABCs, they used to have these exclusive Sunday movies, kind of exclusive, and when I say exclusive, they were kind of TV made. I remember there was one, was an Incredible Hulk and Daredevil or something to that effect on NBC. So, just to give you an idea how TV and renting and the whole renting game, they just balance each other out in a sense, because for one, let's say Rambo came out in 1985, I believe. If you did not have the money or whatever the case might be to go to the movie theaters, you waited a couple of months, depending, for this to come out on VHS, videotape, and then later on DVD. So you waited, and then as a family, you rented. Now, when you rent something, I remember back then, it could have been from $2.99. You did the Saturdays because a lot of places, I believe Blockbuster started adapting the, how can I say, the Saturday, you skip Sunday, you return it Monday. There's a lot of mom and pop shop stores that did the same thing too. So Saturday became a thing. Again, if you look at movies and if you're in a household where you got money but not crazy enough to, let's say 4 people, 4 times, let's say $5 a movie ticket. Even back then, prime watching a movie in the night, whatever, $5 a pop. 1980s, mid 80s. With the popcorn, you're talking about $30. That $30, look, it's still cheaper than that. Now it's like $100. So if you do that versus a movie that came out on VHS, $5, whatever the case might be, and everybody's watching it, get some popcorn. I remember Blockbuster, when you came in, they had a section of family package for $20. You get to rent 2 movies, or you get a soda, you get some popcorn, you get some candies for $20, something to that effect. So that's one of the things that I remember with Saved by the Bell, Blockbuster Video. Mark that in my list of things that I feel nostalgic and I miss. Do I wish there was another Blockbuster Video out there and going back to the old days? No. So I like to just get on my laptop, whatever it is, stream. I'm good. Just keep in mind, traveling does cost money. So maybe money. I'm sorry. So, I'm saving money there too. So that's another thing with nostalgia. Another thing here, and this one's pretty cool. So this one is like 1980s toys. Once again, I want to do I'm gonna do a nostalgic episode just on toys in itself. We got the glow worms here. For those people out there, 1982, come on, man. I don't even think I was born in 1982. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't think I was born in 1982. I'm just saying, glow worms. Yeah, they glow. Game Boy, okay. I remember that always. The Nintendo, for those people out there, gamers out there, the Nintendo, Nintendo. Come on, when you're in the 80s, this is like the PC, Xbox, PlayStation thing going on. Look, we only had one. Well, Sega had the other. Trivial Pursuit, for those into these games, I love Trivial Pursuit because I'm a geek on the low one. Right here, Garbage Patch Kid, my family household, we never gravitated to these things. I remember these ugly things, the Monchichi. You see, release date 1974. That's way before my time, but they still managed to come in the 1980s. Right here, boom, and look at that, the ugly thing. There's people in downtown where I live at in New York City with dogs that look like that, and they spend $200,000 on these dogs. Might as well just buy a Monchichi. Come on, man. Pound puppies, cute little things. Going back to dogs. Yeah, Pound Puppies. I remember they had a cartoon that came on, very very popular in my time. Obviously, My Little Pony. Oh, okay. I'll tell you this much. So you see the hair right here? There's a lot of girls out there. For the most part, I've seen girls out there. 99% of girls that My Little Pony. Maybe you got a little boy. If there's one thing I must say about My Little Pony, is this hair. A lot of people learn how to braid because this hair was kind of long. So I'm just saying that's a constructive than toy that we had back then. My Little Pony. People knew how to braid hair, comb hair, and all that. 3-man chess. I'm not a fan of chess, but I do remember something to that effect. That'll be interesting. 3-man chess. It should be like 3 people chess. Come on now. Come on. Get it with the program. Domino Rally. I remember the commercials, late 80s. You do the beep, 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 beep. You do all these intricates where whatever the case might be. If you want to build something and spend 2 hours just to knock it down for 2 seconds, by all means. Guess who? Another interesting game. Works in the memory. You see, a lot of these games require physical, mental, all this stuff going on here. I'm just saying, hey, listen, it was a different time back then. Jenga, played it a couple of times. Jenga is that game that, yeah, when you get Jenga and you messed up and all that knocks out, oh, yeah, you'll be the talk of the town. See, it's funny because Jenga is for a lot of adults who like to drink and like to kind of mess around with their cognitive, thing going on there. Am I drunk? Yo, Jenga. That could be that thing. Jenga, what happened here? Yeah, I remember those little balls. Koosh. Kush. Yeah, Kush, not Kush. Come on, those smokers out there. Simon, another game. It's a memory game. I remember, red, blue, boom, boom, boom. It was a memory game. Um, I think that's the game where, look, you're going to come across people, right? And just because you have a memory doesn't make you smarter than me. But by damn it, sometimes I wish I didn't have that much good memory, but I do. But I don't think I did good in Simon because it got hard after a while. Rubik's Cube, come on. This is like the Rubik's Cube. This is the tool that some people use to see how smart you are. That's crazy. You people know He-Man. He-Man was great. You already know. Care Bears, you see? Huh? Care Bear. Wow, Care Bears. Care Bears. Teddy Ruxpin was that thing, that dude that kind of talked. Scary. Power Wheels, yeah. For those people that have money, I get it. We had the big wheels. Come on now. Micro Machines. Oh, I remember the commercial with the guy that talked a lot. Blah, 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 Micro Machine. Blah, 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 blah. He went on Micro Machine, little cars, little things going on. Micro Machines is one of those things where people, they became collectibles. So, hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, woo! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a half shell. Obviously, one of my favorite cartoons, one of my favorite things. That nostalgia is a thing. Bicycle wheel spoke beats. All right, whatever. What does that mean? Beats. Hey, relax. So, folks, wow. That's a little bit of nostalgia. Once again, if you're on the YouTube, you were able to see in that little presentation. But yeah, hop on your YouTube, hop on a Rumble, watch this stuff. But if you're gonna be listening to my audio, just close your eyes. I'll be putting the links and just think about those things and think about what is that couple of things that you feel nostalgia, that you're addicted to. If you have an addiction, sadly, to something that is doing more negative to you and you feel like you're spending more money, you're spending more time on that, please seek help. Seek help because there is content out there for nostalgia, believe it or not. So that's something that, people just got to keep in mind is that we have an addiction to nostalgia. We love nostalgia. There are, for the most part, all my personal view, I tend to gravitate to something positive. And once again, like the Ninja Turtles, Silverhawks, I could go on and on and on. I'll be doing a different show on cartoons and nostalgia. And yes, there are people that unfortunately either they live in a time where, I think I was too old for the 80s. I wasn't born in the 80s or in the 90s. I don't remember this show, whatever the case might be. It's okay. It's okay. Welcome to our time. Somebody got to talk about the 80s and 90s. I'm just saying. Let's make it happen. All right, everybody. Much love. You already know this is a legendary podcast. Feel free to share. Addiction to nostalgia is definitely a thing. All right, peoples. I'm out of here. I'm out. I'm out.